Welcome to an all new episode of Spin the Wheel. I'm your host, Wheelchair21. And on today's show, we will be talking about the things I binge, part 3. First off, though, we got to talk about the really depressing news that occurred over the weekend. Technically, it happened yesterday when news broke, since this is recorded on normally Sundays. Tatsuya Naomi, best known for being Daigo in Gosei Sentai Dairanger, he was Shishiranger, passed away over the weekend. Now, the cause of death was suicide, which honestly, it's a huge shocker and very depressing thing, especially due to the fact that now that Gosei Sentai Dairanger has established a huge fan base and viewer base through the Shout Factory uh, release of the series in North America, it's a shame. He'll probably never get to, no one will ever get to meet him in North America. He'll never have met any of his fans. And I feel like, that's a shame for the loss of not just, the people around him, but the fans that have come to love him. There are fans that already enjoyed his work, always wanted to meet him, and it's a shame. It really is like a huge blow right now to the community, to the fandom, and it's a shame. Nevertheless, rest in peace, Tatsuya Naomi. And like I say, people with depression try find help and look into find in others, as well as no one should forget this man's role as Daigo. He was wonderful, one of the best characters in the series, and he's up there with, Rearranger, Jin, Master Kaku himself. So, like I said, don't forget him. Now we're going to talk about, like I said, the stuff I binge part 3. Originally, this was going to be about Kamen Rider and Ultraman. However, I realized let's keep Toei with Toei and try to talk about Kamen Rider and Metal Heroes and leave Ultraman for its own episode, or with other Subaraya productions or other tokusatsus that are owned by other studios, or distributed through other studios, so on and so forth. Now, growing up, Power Rangers was probably the best established brand by Saban. He also tried to bring over Metal Heroes as well as Kamen Rider, with VR Troopers being Metalder, Scheider, and I believe Spielbahn. And he also brought over the Beetleborgs, which were Juko B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto. And he brought over Saban's Mask Rider, which was Kamen Rider Black RX. Now, he did supposedly try to bring over some of those shows a little bit sooner, as well as when he was trying to focus on bringing over Sentai, but those are kind of just rumors and never been truly confirmed. However, growing up with the series, I never really liked VR Troopers, but I fell in love with Saban's Mask Rider mostly due to the suit aesthetics and the actual original source scenes, and that was also the same for B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto. So, or I should say Juko B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto, and that's what kind of hooked me in. There was something about the insects being the theme of the suit that really hooked me, as well as the overall aesthetics of the designs. And as I would grow older and get more into Sentai, more into Ultraman and all the other tokus, I was really intrigued by this genre that really never got a good foothold in North America. And eventually, my first Kamen Rider that I saw wasn't due to YouTube, it wasn't due to fan subs, it wasn't due to the fact that it was adapted into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, because hint hint, it's goddamn Ryuki. It was because somehow I had a station on Time Warner Broadcasting that one day showed like a majority of Ryuki over the course of like a weekend or whatever, as well as some episodes of Fies. And I was like, man, this show's pretty cool. What is this? And I wanted to go check it out more. And it's when I found out that Kamen Rider had been going on for a long time. It was technically what, inspired Saban's Mask Rider. And I wanted to know more about it. So I started watching probably Kamen Rider more heavily during Deno to Decade, somewhere in there. And I'd seen some episodes of other stuffs like Agito. I've seen some Kuga, I've seen some Blade, and I saw Kabuto and Hibiki. And I saw quite a bit of the Showa era, like parts and clips and episodes, and I found it very interesting. And Metal Hero, I went to that first mostly due to the fact I always loved Beetleborgs, so I wanted to watch Juko B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto, which was one of my most Binge series when it was a part of, I think, DT Kingdom's YouTube channel. I probably watched that series, both series, I want to say eight, nine, 10 times maybe. And it was one of my most favorite series I've ever binged. And I could not wait for a fan group to either put it out there for us to watch or to be someday officially licensed through Shout Factory. Like, I would just love that. Now, I did watch Black and Black RX. Those were like the only two riders I watched. And I watched them right when I started Jetman, Ranger, Dai Ranger, Kaku Ranger, and so on and so forth. So those were the earliest things I watched. I watched the early, I guess the early '90s movies of Shin, Zoe, and Jay, and enjoyed them. And like I said, the Heisei era was very finicky for me, and like it was somewhere between Deno and Decade where I really started actually sitting down to watch more Kamen Rider. And I fell in love with Kuga. I fell in love with Agito. Ryuki always has a special place in my heart. Fies, I have a love hate relationship with it. Blade, I enjoyed. Kabuto and Hibiki, it's like a flip of the coin. Like, I like episodes and then I don't like the show, or I like the show one day and I don't like the entire series or the actors. It's one of those ones where it's very finicky for me, as well as Kiva was. I actually enjoyed Decade, even though it's a mess of a show. And then we get to Kamen Rider Double, which everyone loves. And for some reason, I have like a weird guilty pleasure with it where I'll watch it more than I'll watch some of the other shows I hate, but then I still hate it while enjoying it. And I don't understand. It's a very confusing aspect where I like Double, I think, due to the aesthetics of the suit and the themes of what it should be, but then I just hate the characters. Like, I don't know. I felt like the series kind of flops in some areas, but that's a convoluted story for another day. O's, I didn't really like O's until towards the end. Like, I started watching it and really getting into it. Forze, it was one of those ones where like one can easily pick up the series and you don't lose anything. So I enjoyed watching it because like I didn't really watch it on a week to week basis, but like I could just come in on any episode and feel like I could just enjoy what I just watched. And then we got Wizard where it looked like it had potential and then it just like blew up in everyone's faces. Then we had Gaim, Drive, two of my favorite Rider series of all times. Then we got Ghost, which, oh my god, Ghost, you were terrible, and we're on X8 now. So from the start to finish, like Heisei era, I've watched a majority of it and I enjoyed quite a bit of it. With the Showa era though, it's been very finicky. It's been a love and hate relationship. It's a give and take. I like the original series with Ichigo and Nigo. I liked V3. Amazon, I'm very indifferent on. I didn't really watch X, didn't really watch Skyrider, but I liked Super 1. I liked Stronger. Never finished them. And like I said, Black and Black RX. So when I binge watch, it's mostly the original, B3, Black, RX, the movies in the 90s, Kuga, Agito, Ryuki, Blade, Deno, Decade. And then, like I say, Double, like it's a weird guilty pleasure. I don't understand. Like, I hate that show, but I like that show. And then I watch Gaim and Drive. Like, those are some of the best Kamen Rider series out there. And yet, at the same time, like, I want to freaking burn Double. I don't understand why I hate it so much, but enjoy watching it. It's it's like a car crash. You just got to sit there and let it happen. So I really do enjoy them, and I don't know if it's maybe like I said, aesthetics of the suits, whether it be the heroes or the villains that keep me coming back to those series specifically, or just their stories. Because when one starts Kuga and Agito, you're gonna be so hooked in there, and you're gonna still sit there and wish that they were actually in their own canon universe because man, when you start seeing the parallels and know that the shows were intended to be sequels to one another, you're just sitting there going, "Why couldn't you?" Then we go to Metal Hero, like I said, and Metal Hero was one of those weird give and takes for me because the Metal Hero series is sort of like Sentai, where like some of the seasons are, well, no, it's not sort of like Kamen Rider and Sentai, where some of the seasons are canon, 2 seasons, but then like every other series is a reboot, and then some of them are canon yet again, and it's kind of very confusing because like you have the space sheriffs, which are canon to the space sheriffs, then you have like Exceed Draft and some of the other rescue forces that are canon into one universe, like Exceed Draft and Winspector, and then you have the Jugo B Fighter Kabuto, and they're sort of canon with Robotac and Kabutak, and yet the Metal Heroes themselves are all still canon to each other's main universe is kind of hilarious and confusing. And originally, like I said, I went to Juco B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto mostly due to the fact that I always had loved Beetleborgs growing up. I loved the toys, I loved the suits, and they were some of my favorites. Hell, I would love to cosplay as Blue Beat or Kabuto. Not, well, I shouldn't say Kabuto. I should say B Fighter Kabuto or whatever because I hate the White Blaster Beetleborg just because. And I watched them, and those series were so incredible, so mature. And like at times, it's one of those ones where people say you become the elitist or the purist, where you're like sitting there wanting to like spit on Saban because like he takes an awesome show and then kind of bastardize it. But then you can't. But then you got to think in the mindset he tries to make it for kids in North America, and there's certain standards that you make where these shows seem more mature because it's how the culture approaches certain scenarios and certain subjects that it just feels more mature and you're just like, man, I can watch this show, but why can I enjoy Beetleborgs anymore? And it's because of the difference in culture. So then eventually it was like I always liked the VR Troopers suits, but I never liked VR Troopers, so I was like, all right, I want to go watch Metalder. And then I watched Metalder, which has like been fully subbed and like ripped off when it was Hong Kong subs, official subs, and then new official subs came out, and I was sitting here like, yo, this Metalder, it's amazing. And I was like, all right, so Scheider, he's a space sheriff, right? And then like someone's like, yo, you need to go watch the Christmas episode first. And I watched the Christmas episode of Scheider, and like I sit there and I'm wondering what kind of acid trip I was just on. And I start watching Gavin, and then I watch Charavan, and then I watch Scheider, and I'm like, man, this show is great. And like most of the other shows at those times weren't fully subbed, but I was like, man, these were great. And then Gavin finally got like finished subbing like the last 2 to 3 years. So I watched all of Gavin complete, and I was like, man, this is why Kenji Oba is the man. He is the certified G, and you can't teach that. So having seen like a good portion of the Space Sheriffs, the original three, I'm just sitting here like, damn. And like I said, Metalder's just really good. Juice Beyond, I think I've seen a bit of it, but I just never got into it. Now that most of the series has been subbed, I'm probably going to pick it up, or it's all been subbed. I'll pick it up and then I'll probably add that to my collection because Metal Heroes have never seemed to really wrong me. Spielbaum looks interesting. Ninja Sen Jiraiya. Okay, I seen some of it, and I thought it was one of those other Toku shows that Toei produced that weren't reliant on the Sentai Metal Hero Kamen Rider aesthetic. So I thought it was like what is it, Zubat, and so I was like, oh shit, it's one of those shows. Nope, it's actually a Metal Hero show. So that was like the crazy stuff to me, and I think it's gonna be a show that I'm gonna freaking love. Mobile Cop Jiben. Ironically, like I think I'm friends with the actor on social media, but I've never seen that series. Winspector, Soulbrain, and Sea Draft have some incredible suits, and I really would love figure arts of them. And I think I'm going to enjoy the series. I just haven't really picked them up. Now, I really want to see Exceed Draft due to the fact that Drac Red Sinker or Draft Sinker was played by an actor I actually came to enjoy due to his role in Ultraman Tiga. So, I mean, like, I really want to see that series. I don't think I'm going to really like Jan Praserion and Blue SWAT right away, but B Fighter Kabutos and those series are amazing. I don't know where Changirion fits in. Like, I heard Changirion isn't a metal hero, but it is a metal hero. And I heard that it's almost done being subbed from a friend of mine. And I kind of want to watch it because everyone says it's a really interesting show that stars Kamen Rider Oja as the protagonist. So it's very hard to say with Metal Hero because, like, not many people really subbed it and it's very, very finite. But I do believe that the Space Sheriff series is a place where no one can go wrong watching it, nor the Juko B Fighter Kabuto. The other series are probably going to be give and takes for people due to the fact that they kind of try to follow the aesthetic of the space sharks in some regards to some of the series, and then they don't in other regards. And I think I like them due to the fact that they feel like a mix and match of what's good about Sentai and Rider and try to amalgamate it into one incredible show. And honestly, for Kabutak and Robotak, people should sort of watch them, but you're probably not going to enjoy them. So, like I said, my recommendations when it comes to Kamen Rider are still the original V3, Stronger, Black RX, Kuga, Agito, Ryuki Blade, Decade, Double, Gaim, and Drive. As with Metal Hero, Space Chefs, Metalder, and the, Guest B Fighter series because they're just really good and really great. So, I mean, I've always fell in love with them. I love having figure arts for them. I love having memorabilia for them. And it doesn't really hurt being a collector and being able to buy things you see on the show. And I would love to cosplay a crap ton of those characters from those favorite series that I brought up. Hell, I could make an entire sub series of what I'd like to cosplay in the near future, but it won't be anytime soon. We'll talk about possibilities of cosplay and ideas down the line. Now, I'm not going to talk about cosplays I'm planning to do because those are a surprise and dream ideas that I would like to unveil one day and just have everyone sit back and be blown away. Nevertheless, Spin the Wheel is a series that one can watch or listen to on YouTube and SoundCloud. You can find me on these two platforms, as well as you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The description is either on the channel, in the description of the video, or practically anywhere that you can probably figure out at wheelchair21 or Taja underscore Doyle. I mean, it's pretty simple. And nevertheless, next week we will talk about Ultraman and some of the other non Toei shows that I tend to just binge watch and enjoy, and sort of why I like those seasons, or maybe why they attract me.